What's up, everybody? I'm Houston Mallette. I'm a junior at Pepperdine University, and I play men's basketball there. Yeah, I would say growing up, I played multiple sports. Up until high school, I played 3 sports. So I played basketball, I played baseball, I played football. I played soccer, but it was mostly basketball, baseball, and football up until around high school time. I'd say probably my biggest mentor in my life for sure is my dad. My dad's been with me every step of the way. He played Division I college football, so he kind of knew athletics in a very bright way. He also worked in collegiate athletics, especially growing up, so I was able to see. He worked at UC Berkeley, so Cal. And when I was younger, like I remember my first game going there, I saw Justin Cobbs hit like this step back game-winning 3 to beat Arizona. When they had like Aaron Gordon, and Caleb Tarzewski, and Gabe York, and all those guys. So I got to watch that game. That was my first ever college basketball moment. And I'd say from that point on, I knew for sure that that's what I wanted to do. And then once I got into high school, I was around, a lot of great guys. My first year being a freshman at Salesian, I got to learn from like Coach Bill Mellis, who's won 1,000,000 games in high school, Coach Foster, Coach Job, Coach Brown, Coach JB, like all those guys. I got to learn so much from them. And then guys like the twins, the McClanahan twins, taught me a lot, like them being good players. And then I ended up moving down to Southern California. My dad got a job at UC Riverside, and that's when I met the greatest coach I've ever played for, one of my biggest supporters, and someone who's taught me so much about basketball and life in general. Him and my dad are incredibly close, and the 3 of us are close, and we call ourselves the 3-man weave. My dad always says this thing called like chop wood, carry water. It's a book. He read it. I need to read it. I haven't read it yet. But he always told me about that. Like in life, you need to chop wood. Keep hammering the axe at the wood. Keeping the same precision, the same consistency. And you're not going to knock the whole tree down one time. But once you keep going and you keep going and you keep hacking at it every day, like you start to build habits and you start to stack days. They always told me that it's not going to matter like the accolades you've done, how many points you've scored, how many fans you may have. Like that's not what people are going to remember. People are going to remember the way you treated them. So how you treat people and the way you made people feel and the impact you've had on people is more important than anything. And I've kind of taken that perspective throughout my whole life. And in the sport I play, it's not about necessarily the wins and losses, or it's not necessarily about how many points you can score. Like it's about how you made people feel. My recruitment process was honestly kind of crazy. I officially got my first offer the first ever day of my sophomore year from Shante Leggins. He coaches now at University of Portland, who we play twice a year. Honestly, the biggest reason why I believe schools recruited me was the person I am and the energy I had. So how recruiting worked at my school is we would practice at like 6 a.m. And so my whole thing, I'm a morning person. So once I get to that gym, and regardless if there were coaches there or not, like with the coaches, when they were there, what they saw was someone who had like emphatic energy at like 5:30 in the morning. Someone who was just kind of screaming his head off, incredibly intense, energetic, just wanting to play and compete at such an early morning, which a lot of people don't do. And I think that's kind of what grabbed the attention. I also think, my ability to shoot the ball. I think they liked that I could shoot, I could pass. I was 6'5", so I was kind of a bigger guard. I know a lot of schools didn't really like me because I wasn't the best vertical athlete, and I also wasn't the biggest. Like when I started high school, I was 5'9", 136 pounds. I graduated high school at like 165 pounds. So I know they weren't that interested in that. But I think it was just kind of like the person I am and how I played and how I was able to lead and impact my teammates and compete and make sure that like there was this relentless attitude to get better every day. And I think those were kind of the conversations we had and kind of what they fell in love. After that, the ball kind of got rolling. I kind of got more offers after that. I started playing with West Coast Elite, Under Armour Association team. We started traveling. It was kind of cool because you got to play in front of like Coach Calipari and all these big time like college coaching names that only you can dream of, like Coach K, things of that nature. And so it kind of just, spiraled and kind of went on. And then I originally committed to Penn State University at a high school. That's where I originally committed to. And when I committed there, I committed to Coach Chambers. I think in May of my junior year, May of 2020, I ended up getting a call from my dad. And my dad tells me that I need to go talk with my high school coach in the car. And like some serious news happened. So he called me because the athletic director from Penn State, Sandy Barber, who hired my dad at Cal, so they're lifelong friends. She called him and said that Pat Chambers is going to resign. Like he was forced resignation like that. So I remember being in the car, being really upset and heartbroken. And it's COVID, right? So like all these guys are now getting their another year of college eligibility. So it's really trying to figure out almost like, holy crap, like I have a week to kind of sign and decide where I'm going to go. And so I remember calling Coach Romar at Pepperdine, who's awesome. I love Coach Romar. I called him, and we had a long-standing relationship. He's recruited me ever since my sophomore year, and I remember us talking, and he was just like that they had a spot available, and then I was very interested, and I told him I wanted to go. I remember when I got to Pepperdine, and I practiced all summer, I didn't think I was going to play. Honestly, I didn't think I was going to play. And then I ended up getting put in. I was like the first guy off the bench in our first ever game. And then after that, I kind of didn't look back. And I got to play. I got to experience a lot of things. A lot of guys got hurt towards later in the year, so my role even increased my freshman year. And it was kind of like a whirlwind. And I think the biggest things I took in from college is it's a lot different than any kind of basketball. It's a lot different from high school, and it's a lot different from the NBA and professional basketball. The biggest thing in college is how solid can you be? How consistent can you be? And just trying to do everything right. The margin for error in college is so crazy small, in order to win a game, which I think is interesting. One of the biggest things I had to do in the offseason was eat some more, because I came in, I think at 160, I was playing at 165. So I had to eat, put on weight, and then, just get better at everything. And for the kids out there that are watching this could be my biggest advice to you ever. It's not about how much skills you have. Just do the fundamentals and practice the fundamentals. If you're going to go into a gym, one of the best shots to shoot, and I think most of the shots that are 3-pointers or mid-range, whatever the case may be, are catch and shoot. Make sure you work on your catch and shoot. Make sure you work on one dribble pull-ups. Make sure you work on a mic and drill, making sure your touch is good. Focus on the little things. You don't need to have a million combos like you're James Harden. That's not the most important thing. Even guys at that level have such a good foundation of fundamentals that they're able to do that. So make sure your fundamentals are good and constantly work at that. And then just build that over time. And then make sure your energy's good. You always want to have good, emphatic energy. Those things will kind of separate you. You just gotta love it, man. You gotta be obsessed with it. And I think that's kind of what separates the better players. Embrace your journey and embrace who you are, for one. Those are important. Everybody's journey is different. I wasn't a top 25, top 50 guy. I was always kind of ranked in the 150s. And I'm not saying not to pay attention to that, but I'm saying those rankings and stuff, in my opinion, are BS. What matters is when you come on that court, what you do once you're on that court. Once you are between those lines, your name, your ranking goes out the window. Once you get to college, all that stuff goes out the window. It does not matter. So just, stack days, be the best you can be. If you're trying to be a Division I player and play at the Division I level, the biggest thing is how consistent can you be? How can you separate yourself from the other 99% of kids out there? What are you going to do every day that separates it? So me, it was I wanted to live in the gym, and I just obsessed over basketball. I loved basketball. We have this thing at Pepperdine, it's called a 95 jersey. And you get the 95 jersey because it's basically all the things you did to help the team win that don't involve scoring. And basically his message is you can still impact the basketball game without scoring. So that's what I would say. Work on your fundamentals, love basketball, just approach it with a good attitude and go out there and try to be the best you can.